All right, just wait for, okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I would like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Marla Billinghurst, and I will be chairing the meeting this morning. With me on the panel this morning are Mr. Marcel Lorendo and Mr. Bill Moretsky. The assessor is Mr. Jamie Fougere, and the recording secretary is Ms. Belen Rojo. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony, followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish, and once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, excuse me, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 7 on our docket today. Ms. Rojo, please affirm the assessor's and the applicant's testimony. Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Jamie Fougere.
And you affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Mark Newman.
And you affirm the evidence you represent is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The first matter on this morning's docket is 130 Osborne Street. Mr. Fougere, please proceed when you are ready.
Sure. So before I get started, I would just ask if everybody has a copy of the recommendations document that I had sent. And if you do, if you could please open it to the first page. And if everybody's got that, I can get started here.
Okay.
Okay.
Is everybody ready?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay, so the first one on our docket here is 130 Osborne Street. The roll number is 1203-1764-100. And you can see the property quickly on page 2 of my brief. So this is the one with the thicker purple outline in the aerial shot. And then just to the south and then to the east of this property is sort of a sister property. It is 435 Stradbrook, and we'll be looking at that one next. But just to say, they did sell together, and that in part informed my recommendation that I have here. So again, 130 Osborne Street. If you want to turn to the recommendations document. We have adjusted some of the areas to the actual reported areas, and then we've used the actual rents in place. And then we've come up from 6.35 to 6.85 on the capitalization rate. And so the overall value goes from 1,619,000 to down to 1,463,000. And so that's my recommendation on the property.
63,000. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Newman, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I don't have any questions, and I just want to note that Mr. Fougere and I had extensive discussions late yesterday afternoon, and he provided me with the recommendations overnight. And the only observation I make to the board is that because of the lateness of our discussions, I have not had the opportunity of confirming final instructions, but generally I will say I am satisfied with these recommendations. The only one that's a little more complicated is, I think, the last one, or one of the later ones we will do, 1320 Ellis. That's got more moving parts. So I'm not intending to question the assessor on any of the recommendations. I'm aware of them and how they've come to be. And my receipt of them is subject to the caveat I've just expressed.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Lorando, do you have any questions for the assessor? You're on mute right now.
Yes, I do have a question. Jamie, on this one, you've gone from 3% to 5%. Can you fill me in on that?
It's just from the review of the actual income and expense questionnaires. So for each of these properties on today's docket, I reviewed the actual income and expenses for 3 years. Well, actually 4, but one of them being 2021, and that is post-reference, so I have not included that as part of my background calculations. But there are a few properties where I feel that a larger expense ratio or expense allowance makes sense, and this is one of them. Generally, there can be cases where the other expense is lower, but we often sort of have it as a floor of 3%, because that is would be reasonable to expect as an investor looking at properties like these. So I don't have any general issue with our 3% expense, because it is, statistically, in a way, a type of average that we've applied here. And then we're looking site specific at the board revision. So we've been able to adjust that somewhat.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moretsky, do you have any questions for the assessor?
No, I do not.
Okay, nor do I. Mr. Newman, did you have a presentation you would like to make on this property?
I do not. So my brief has been filed, but as I've indicated, and will be the case on the balance of the properties to come, I don't intend to question the assessor or present a separate submission.
Thank you very much. So, yes, I guess we can move on to the next matter on the docket then. Thank you. The next matter is 435 Stradbrook Avenue.
Yeah, so 435 Stradbrook Avenue. The roll number is 1203-1766-100. The original assessed value is $3,551,000. So this is the companion roll number that I was mentioning a minute ago. This one is actually sort of an L-shaped strip mall and has the parking in front. And you can see the property on page 2 of my brief. And so this one I've also reviewed the actual rents in place and the net operating income of the property. Again, over several years, as well as some direction that I took from the sale of the pair of the properties here. And so we've left the rental rates the same, made the adjustment from 3% to 5%, and a small adjustment on the capitalization rate from 6.65% to 6.85. And so the overall assessment on this one goes from $3,551,000 to $3,375,000. So that's my recommendation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions for the assessor?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moretsky?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, nor do I. And we have been made aware of Mr. Newman's position. So I suppose we can move on to the next matter then, which would be 1081 Ellis Avenue. So Mr. Fougere, whenever you're ready.
All right, so 1081 Ellis Avenue. The roll number is 130-1139-0100. The original assessed value is $3,483,000. And there's a couple buildings on this property. So we'll take a look on the second page of my brief. It's a pretty deep property on Ellis there. And so it has been the restore by Habitat for Humanity. I believe they have vacated. I don't recall the exact date that they have, but we haven't included any adjustment to the vacancy here. So this, and their space was an old gullwing shaped Safeway that had been renovated. And then you can see below that, or in front of it, as a pad site in the parking lot, is the Cambrian Credit Union, which moved from the parcel to the south to the new building here. And so that's newly constructed. As you know, we do have a recommendation for this property. Just to let you know, there will be a supplemental coming at some point. There is a oil change station that will be going in sort of across from the bank and sort of south of the former Restore building. And so in the meantime, though, until the SUP is issued, we do have a recommendation here. So we've revised the rental rates. We've used actuals on the bank. The actual rent that is in place or was in place for the Restore was $12, but here we've looked at comparables, and I think it's appropriate to use $11, especially considering they're going to have to lease up the space, and I think that that's a reasonable rate. And then the other changes that we've made is to the capitalization rate. So I've also looked at previous assessments and agreements that we have had. And so I think using 7.75 as a capitalization rate makes sense. And then we also have below that, there's a number which is an excess land figure. And that's basically where the oil change building will be going. And so that represents the idea that the parcel isn't maximized to its full potential, and which makes sense when you think they are now doing so with the addition of another building that should be coming online sometime February or later, perhaps. So overall, the assessment goes from $3,483,000 to $3,336,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Moretsky?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, nor do I. Thank you very much. We can move on to the next matter. Sorry, 1 second, please. Is 897 Corydon Avenue.
So the next property, as you say, is 897 Corydon Avenue. The roll number is 12022892500. And you can see this property on the second page of my brief. It's basically a 2-story strip mall, if you want to look at it that way. It's mostly office tenants, especially on the second floor. And then here we also have a recommendation. We've used the actuals, and again, I've reviewed at least 4 years of income and expense questionnaires, and I've also increased the expenses from 3% to 5% in this case, and the capitalization rate from 6.55 to 7.15. And so this one, as well as a number of the other ones, had been appealed to the municipal board for 2020. And so I did as well look to the agreements that came as a result of those appeals, and considered that in our approach. And so the original assessment was $3,451,000, and our recommendation is $2,966,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, just checking. Okay. Mr. Moretsky?
No questions.
Okay. Nor do I. Thank you very much. The next matter is 1320 Ellis Avenue. Please proceed when you're ready.
Sure. So 1320 Ellis Avenue. The roll number is 13001435000. The original assessment was $14,945,000. And so we have 3 buildings on this parcel. And if you want to take a look on the second page of my brief, you'll get an idea of what's going on. So at the top of the second page, we have an aerial photograph of the subject in the thick purple line. And you can see it has the sort of curved boundary line to the south. That's shaped that way to make allowance for the hotel that's there. So the hotel is Canada Inn's Hotel. The address there for the Canada Inns is 1405 St. Matthews. And so we'll see this in the recommendation in a minute. But the Canada Inns Hotel actually pays the property to the north for parking. It is sort of an internal payment because both roles are actually owned by Canada Inns. But I reviewed the agreements with 1405 St. Matthews, and they have used the parking expense in their calculation of that assessment. So in this assessment, we're using the parking income. So, if you have to balance it between the two. And then the other thing I'll point out while we have the overhead picture of the property is on the east side. You can see that sort of thin red line that goes up. Mm-hmm. So that's a rail line or a spur line. I'm not sure which. However, the ownership of the subject, you can see, has some parking alongside of it. That's actually outside of the boundary of their roll number. And so they actually rent that for approximately $18,000 annually. And so the parking income that I'm adding from the 1405 St. Matthews, I'm actually also making a deduction for the parking that they're renting, the land lease alongside the rail line. So that's just a bit of background on sort of the land of the property. And then you can see we have that large building here where the big red pin is superimposed. And so the end cap there is garbanzos and playmakers. So it's about split in half with the sort of VLT side being playmakers, and then garbanzo pizza being sort of a more family style restaurant. And then you go down, you can see we have Qdoba, Sally, and Rogers. And so this building is a newer building. It's the one that's sort of the northernmost building on the property that's closest to Ellis. And then as you go down on page 3, we have Planet Fitness, which used to be a Winners. And so that is right beside the Garbanzos. And then to the south of that is Yisk. And then the third building is the southernmost, and that's Once Upon a Child and Pennington's. So just to give you a lay of the land. And then you can see in our recommendations document, we have the breakdown of our recommendation on page 5. And so the rents at this property are generally pretty high, pretty substantial. So we've used the actuals here. The only one that I'd like to point out that may have a discrepancy is the Pennington's space. So they've renegotiated their lease, and I believe partway through 2020, it became $17. And I believe by 2021, it had become $13. So that's the space that's 6,550 square feet. And then another one that I wanted to point out is the Garbanzo's Playmakers space, 9,936 square feet. The actuals that are reported is $25 a square foot, but it is not an arm's length lease. They're related to the Canada Inns Corporation. And so looking at some comparables, we were prepared to use $20 a square foot. And then finally, the other adjustment that I've made, as mentioned, is to the additional income. Unfortunately, my cells don't line up very nicely in my recommendation form here. But I should also probably have relabeled it. It says sign rental, but it's really parking income. And then as well in there is basically a parking deduction. So 105,000 is what they receive from the St. Matthews property, and then approximately 18,000 is what they pay to I think it's CP that owns that rail line for the parking along the eastern strip. And so the original assessment was $14,945,000, and we'd offer $13,985,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Newman, I believe this was the property. You may have some questions or presentation.
Well, no, so this is the one that I said had more moving parts, and it does. I don't have any questions. I fully understand what the assessor has done. This is one that has complexities to it that, as I indicated, I've not had the opportunity to review with the client, but I'm not challenging what the assessor has done here. I understand what he's done.
Okay, thank you. Will you have a presentation on this one, or?
I will not.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to double check. Okay, thank you. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Moretsky?
No, I do not.
Okay. Nor do I. Okay, so thank you very much. So we can then move on to the next matter, which is 1017 St. James Street.
Yeah, so 1017 St. James Street. Just pulling it up here. The roll number is 130-990-68840. So the original assessed value was $5,433,000. You can see this property on the second page of my brief. So it's located at Ellis, on the corner of Ellis and St. James. And so this is all one building. It has been built in two stages. You can see the parking lot goes all the way around the building. And we have mostly restaurants here. So we have the large family size or family style restaurant Smitty's facing St. James. And then beside that on St. James is the insurance broker. And then on the south side or Ellis side, we have a Subway, Little Caesars, and Booster Juice as sort of smaller scale, smaller areas that they occupy here. So originally we had two income streams on this property. So I'm proposing that we reduce it to one because typically we use one income stream for one building. Now it was built in two stages, but usually we'd consider that one building still. And the other thing is we do have the ability to within our model kind of mark off which premises are restaurants, and so we can use that approach here. That we're still recognizing the spaces that are restaurants. We're just not using sort of the standalone restaurant parameters. And so if you see that, on the left side, we have the original assessment in the recommendations document on page 6. If you see that and you're seeing these sort of not rounded figures for the parameters, it's because I've just, for the representation of this recommendation and for the easier comparison of the two, since I'm proposing using just a single income stream, we've basically blended the rates to match the original assessment. So it gives you a little bit of a better comparison overall, looking at it that way. And so here we've used the actuals in place as they are, they're actually higher overall than what we had to begin with. Though we did make some small adjustment on the expense ratio or the expense allowance. And then we did make an adjustment from with the capitalization rate from 6.09 to 7. And so the overall assessed value goes from $5,433,000 to $4,742,000.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Moretsky?
No questions.
Okay, nor do I. So we can now move on to the last matter on the docket this morning, which is 1501A Gateway Road.
Yeah, so 1501A Gateway Road. The roll number is 040069 I guess 20,000 is the easier way to say that. And here we have two classifications and two liability statuses. So we have the 60T, which is the standard taxable commercial. And then we have the 40E, which is, I believe it is a daycare. And so the 60T portion is $2,909,000 originally. And the 40E portion is $1,421,000. And that combines to a total of $4,330,000. So it is all one building, but we do have the split and have two income streams because of the difference in the liability status. And so you can see the property on page 2 of my brief. It's a pretty large strip mall on Gateway Road there, right sort of on the edge of a residential neighborhood. And I think they've done a little bit of renovations to the exterior recently. So you can see that on page 2. And so with my recommendations document, I have it over the 7th and 8th page. And I've done so because of the difference in the liability. So starting on page 7, you can see we've actually used the actuals here, gone from the original modeled rental rates to the actuals in place. And that's the only change that we've made. So it's gone from $2,909,000 to 2,487,000. And then on the second or the last page, this is the second page of 1501 Gateway. So this is the large space that, again, I believe it's a daycare. And so that we've gone from the modeled rent of $1,368 to the actuals in place of $1,375. And so that's actually come up. This income stream has actually come up slightly from $1,421,000 to $1,428,000. And so that's for the exempt portion. Probably should have them both streams added together just to get a sense of the overall assessment. If you want to wait just one moment, I can do so.
Sure, no problem.
Oh. One page too far.
3,915,000.
Yeah, 3,915,000. I think Mr. Lorendo had remarked, and so that's our recommendation on that one.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lorendo, do you have any questions for the assessor?
I just wanted to get it clear. The 60T is the 2,000,004, and then the other one is 60S, school exempt. Is that correct?
We have it as 40E.
40E?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's totally exempt. Okay.
Nonprofit daycares are totally exempt.
Yeah. 40E, thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moretsky?
Went back down to 3% on your expenses this time.
Yeah, I've and there's actually I think three or four properties that I've done that. It's not a matter of in my opinion sort of what the standard should be, but just more so looking at the income and expense statements to get a sense of, each property is a little bit different, given the size of the parking lots or the age of the building, and may require, a greater percentage, as well as, since the percentage, if you have lower rental rates, that can impact as a percentage what you have for expenses as well. We have ours as standard as 3% across the commercial sections, and I think that's fair. But on a site-specific basis, I think it's okay to look at sort of the realities of the specific properties that we're looking at.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have no questions on this matter. So we have heard all the items scheduled, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone has a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Good morning to all.
Good morning.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you.